5 News This Morning starts now.
Andrew McGann, the man accused of murdering a couple at Devil's Den State Park last month, is set to be arraigned here in Washington County. We'll have the latest details coming up.
And a live look outside for us on this Thursday morning, looking gorgeous as you head out the door, but it's going to be pretty hot and humid. We'll talk more about it here coming up.
And nobody's told us anything. There's been no preparations.
And the latest on the debate over the Franklin County Prison Project. We'll take you to a meeting between lawmakers and officials from around the state.
But first, a live look outside in Ozark. Good morning to you there. Thursday, August the 14th. Thanks for waking up with us here. We're going to have a great day because it's been back to school the entire week. So it feels like there's just a bit of excitement in the air.
And the sunrises have been showing out all week, too. So you're just waking up in a good mood.
We just got to kick that humidity.
I know. I've been trying to talk with Mother Nature, and she was able to compromise with the beautiful sunrise and saying dry.
Is that what happened?
I try my best. I don't have as much clearance as Scott does. I'll have to talk to him a little bit, but, I'm a newbie around here, so it's like, I can only do so much. Sorry, guys. Here's a current look at your bus stop forecast. It's going to be sunny but sticky out there. Temperatures are in the 70s, some in northwest Arkansas in the upper 60s. By recess or lunchtime around noon, it's going to be soupy. Temperatures in the upper 80s, some around 90, and that feels like it could be close to 100. And as you're heading home about 3, 4 o'clock, or whenever you may be heading home, temperatures will be in the 90s area-wide, a little bit more cloud cover. Can't absolutely rule out a stray shower, but the bigger story is going to be that heat index close to 100, if not eclipsing 100 in many areas. For northwest Arkansas, the actual air temperatures are going to be in the mid-90s later this afternoon. You can see those kind of typical pop-up storms during the afternoon will follow us through about 7 o'clock, and then shortly after sunset start to taper off. The River Valley, a little bit warmer here. Temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. Again, we'll continue to have that stray shower chance as well. So again, here's kind of what the highlights are. Not say the highlights, but maybe the lowlights for some. It's going to be very hot and humid, even hotter tomorrow, and staying pretty steady hot and humid through at least early next week. We'll have very spotty storm chances, but most of us stay dry. And relief on the way, not very soon, and unfortunately maybe not as much as we'd like it to be, but there's a little bit of relief. We'll talk more about that here coming up in your full forecast. For now, take a live look at traffic on this Thursday morning. We'll take a look in the Fort Smith area along I-540 at Grand Avenue. Good morning to you there. As Tiffany mentioned, it's just very orange and purpley. Just a good start to our Thursday, but a sticky one at that. Just to be safe out there in the heat. We'll talk more about the exact details of that heat coming up in just a little bit. Joe and Tiffany.
All right, thanks, Danny. Well, stop hitting that snooze button, and you guys there in Salisaw, get up. It's a back-to-school day.
Yeah, if you don't get out there soon, you might be late if you're taking the bus. 5 News reporter Emily Moss joins us live at Salisaw High School, where in just about an hour, Emily, students and teachers will come pouring through those doors.
That's right. Good morning, Joe and Tiffany. The bell here will ring around 8:05 this morning, so you still have a little bit of time if you're a little slow getting up this morning. But the district this year is celebrating a lot of new sports facility upgrades, including the football stadium's upgrades with the new concession center, as well as the turf upgrades to the baseball and softball field. The superintendent tells me that's all about making sure that his kids have the best resources moving forward. As they start this school year, the district is actively brainstorming a new Boys and Girls Club that was destroyed by flooding earlier this summer. Using their land and the city's partnership, the district plans to create a multi-use building for early childhood development, the Boys and Girls Club programming, as well as new clubs for the district to engage kids of all ages for career paths of all types.
And not just workforce development as from a high school perspective, but also from a K through 12 structure. So really what we're looking at, by having a facility like that, we can have STEM clubs, we can house, agricultural clubs. We can create an environment where we can expose kids into different, career fields and just different experiences at a young age so that they can see exactly what they like, what they don't like, what they're good at, what they're not good at.
That new football stadium upgrade includes a new concession center and new bathrooms, as well as a new aquatic center as a partnership with the city. It's expected to wrap up here pretty soon, and the superintendent's pretty excited about it. I'll send it back to you.
I can see why. All right, thanks for that, Emily. Well, in Gentry schools this year, selected personnel will serve as armed commissioned school security officers. Now, under this program, it will add a layer of security on top of the existing full and part-time school resource officers. The Benton County Sheriff's Office trains the personnel and will conduct another training in September.
Well, because of a policy in the Arkansas Learns Act, students entering the 3rd grade could be held back if they don't meet certain literacy expectations. Statistics gathered by the 2023 ACT Aspire showed 68% of 3rd graders were not able to read at grade level. Some Arkansas educators say in the past it has been difficult to retain a student in Arkansas. After the latest testing, the Department of Education created individualized reading plans for K through 2nd grade students and increased access to reading tutors.
And a reminder, it is illegal to use a cell phone in those school zones when children are present. Fines regarding the law can get pretty high.
What we see more and more today is we're so connected to our personal devices, our cell phones. We just see an abundance of people who drive distracted. And you really can't afford to drive distracted when you're driving through or anywhere around a school zone.
Also, with all the back to school this week, don't forget Arkansas law requires you to stop when you see a school bus with those flashing lights and their stop signs out.
Well, the Franklin County proposed prison continues to stir debate. A meeting in Rogers on Wednesday brought together lawmakers and other officials to talk about the future of Arkansas's prison system. County judges and sheriffs from across the state said the same thing. They need more prison space, and they need it now.
Building a state prison is not a local or a county issue. That's a state issue, but it is affecting us.
Senator Gary Stubblefield, who represents Franklin County, says this site on Mill Creek Mountain is not the solution.
I've been in the Senate almost 16 years. This is the biggest project I have seen, and nobody's told us anything. There's been no preparations.
He says challenges include a lack of basic infrastructure like water and electricity, which could cost taxpayers even more. The Department of Corrections says the water source for the proposed prison is still unresolved. The legislature is expected to revisit the project in upcoming sessions. Well, coming up this morning, the man accused of double homicide at Devil's Den State Park is due in court in Washington County.
Yeah, 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi is out there live now where Andrew McGann is expected to be arraigned this morning. Good morning, Jacob.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. Good morning, Tiffany. He's expected to be arraigned here at 8 a.m. at the Washington County Detention Center. Again, this hearing was moved up from August 25th to today. Recent court filings show that McGann will be represented by attorneys James Wyatt and Catherine Street. And of course, the state will be represented by Chief Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Dennis Dean, as well as Prosecuting Attorney Brandon Carter. And now let's take a look at how we got to this case, right? He's facing 2 counts of capital murder for the deaths of Kristen and Clinton Breek at Devil's Den State Park on July 26th. Officials say the couple was hiking with their 2 young daughters at Devil's Den when they were attacked. The 2 girls, who are 7 and 9 years old, were reportedly not injured and are safe with family members. This sparked a manhunt in the area with local, state, and federal agencies all taking part. Now, according to a preliminary report, police were able to identify the suspect's vehicle as a black Kia Stinger and located it at a barbershop in Springdale. McGann, a teacher living in Springdale, was taken into custody at that barbershop on July 30th. That report also says that investigators noticed wounds on McGann's hands, as well as blood located inside the vehicle. McGann first appeared in front of a judge on August 1st, where he was formally read his rights and appointed an attorney. 5 News spoke with Washington County Prosecuting Attorney Brandon Carter after that hearing. This is what he had to say.
This is a case where I want the public to feel safe. Devil's Den State Park is going to reopen at some point. We released certain details in the probable cause paperwork so that the public would feel confident and safe that the right person is in custody at this point.
Now, according to that preliminary report, after being read his Miranda rights, McGann had actually made statements indicating that he had committed both the killings. Again, prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. But for now, I'm live in Fayetteville, covering news where you live. Jacob Luthi, 5 News.
Thank you, Jacob. The victims in this case, Clinton and Kristen Brink, had just moved to Prairie Grove a couple weeks before the tragedy. Next month, the city will hold a fundraiser to raise money for the children the Brinks leave behind. It'll be on Saturday, September the 6th, with an auction, food, and music. Meanwhile, a GoFundMe to support the Brink family has raised over $85,000 so far.
A fundraiser for a 6-year-old boy who died last week is near its goal. Odin Upton was reported missing last Thursday. The next morning, he was found dead in a pond near his home in Gentry. A family member set up a GoFundMe to raise money for funeral expenses. Its goal is $6,000. So far, over $5,000 have been raised.
And a woman from Rogers has pleaded guilty to multiple charges after investigators say she took 8 of her biological children she no longer had custody of. This was back in 2023. Trista Fullerton was charged last year with 8 counts of interference with custody after investigators say she was found across state lines with the missing kids. She's accused of abducting them from their foster homes and then taking them to Northern California. That's where she was later found and arrested. She pleaded guilty to half of the charges to avoid prison time. She was sentenced to 35 days, but had 35 days of credit for time already served.
Well, this morning, we're learning more about President Trump's objectives heading into Friday's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This will happen at a military base in Alaska. After speaking with Ukrainian and European leaders on Wednesday, the president said he intends to find out if a second meeting with Putin is possible. Friday's summit is seen as an opener to a possible second round that would include Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This comes as Zelensky and European leaders pressed Trump to push for a full ceasefire during a video call.
And how scammers